You ever notice how every time Republicans talk about cutting government waste, somehow it's never the billionaire tax cuts or Trump's golf trips that get slashed? Today, Representative Jasmine Crockett wasn't having it. In a fiery House hearing, she tore apart the GOP's fake efficiency crusade, calling out how their reckless budget cuts hurt everyday Americans, while Trump wastes millions swinging golf clubs. This one's a masterclass in speaking truth to power.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I can tell you one thing that is crumbling for the city of D.C. was that continuing resolution that defunded approximately $1 billion from them. But I will focus on today's hearing. The Republicans' recklessness and chaotic approach to reducing the size of government has shown us what we've already known. Concepts of a plan don't work. This is the committee's fourth hearing, and still no one from the so-called Department of Government Efficiency has testified before this committee about their plans to break the federal government, because as it turns out, breaking the federal government doesn't just hurt people you don't like. It's not just going to be Democrats who miss out on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, or only Democratic veterans who will miss out on their VA benefits. Their approach will negatively impact all Americans. So it's unfortunate that Republicans have taken a seemingly bipartisan issue and included it as part of their scam to subsidize tax giveaway for billionaires. They haven't proposed anything that will improve the efficiency of the government. Instead, they have put the country on a path to a recession and implemented the largest tax increase on Americans in decades through Trump's tariffs. This hearing is their latest attempt to try to convince the American people that dismantling public-facing agencies will somehow improve government efficiency. Let me tell you, it won't. There's nothing efficient about terminating leases for IRS taxpayer assistance centers during tax season, nor dismantling farmers' support offices in rural communities while farmers are trying to survive Trump's tariffs. And just like their trade policy, there isn't any logic or strategy behind the Trump administration's reductions in forced or accelerated disposal of federally owned property. It has been discussed that managing federal property has been on GAO's high-risk list for more than 2 decades. Currently, GAO has almost 60 recommendations that the administration could fully implement, but decided to ignore. And I'm going to veer off for 2 seconds because all I kept hearing was fire. Fire, fire, fire is what I heard. And as I heard fire, it seems like we are talking about an administration that has been hell-bent on firing government workers. They are hell-bent on engaging in fire sales of our government buildings. And while we are at it, they are lighting the Social Security on fire, Medicaid on fire, Medicare on fire, 401ks on fire, Department of Education on fire. And instead, what we need to light on fire are Trump's tariffs. In fact, we could probably go a little bit further and fire this incompetent administration. But if we are going to talk about efficiency and worry about some solar paneled whatevers, let's talk about the fact that as of March 30th, Trump's golfing has cost us approximately $26 million. And the last time I checked, we're not getting anything in return for that. So I will get back on my remarks, but I just wanted to point out that maybe we need to talk about the president and his golfing habits. In fact, he decided that he was going to golf as the markets were tanking. He decided he was going to golf instead of receiving 4 heroes who died serving this country. He has decided that he wanted to play games while the rest of us are really trying to make sure that we can serve the American people. So, Mr. Maroney, you were quoted in the New York Times article dated March 17th, stating that it is important for officials to have a plan to generate the most savings, and that, quote, all of these moving parts point to the need for some deliberate planning. Did the administration consult with GAO regarding their plans to dispose of hundreds of federally owned buildings?
No.
In your testimony, you highlight that one of the core issues associated with managing federal property is the lack of reliable data to support decision-making. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would reducing GSA's workforce by 50% improve data gathering and analysis?
I cannot say they're
That's
not
perfectly fine. We know that we need experts and not idiots, but Mr. Kendall, we will move on. In your written testimony, you state some of the actions of this administration suggest that the administration is not following a strategy designed to save taxpayer money and that the administration seems to ignore agency's mission integrity. Why do you think that?
In the list
You got 20 seconds.
In the list of projects, there were a couple score Social Security offices, IRS, taxpayer service offices, which those agencies, those end user agencies wanted, and yet the administration is canceling those leases. So it does imperil mission accomplishment.
Thank you so much. Oh, you're back.
Republicans love to preach about fiscal responsibility, but when it comes to actual waste, they go silent. And Jasmine Crockett just reminded America exactly why. During a recent hearing, the Texas Democrat ripped into Republicans for their so-called Department of Government Efficiency, which, get this, hasn't even bothered to show up and testify. 4 hearings in, 0 witnesses. Why? Because there is no plan. The GOP's efficiency agenda is really just a cover for dismantling government programs that millions of Americans rely on, from Medicare and Medicaid to Social Security and veterans benefits. Crockett laid it out plainly. When Republicans torch government programs, they're not just hurting Democrats, they're hurting every American family that depends on basic public services. It's a deliberate move to shrink the government so billionaires can get more tax breaks while working people get the bill. And she didn't stop there. Crockett called out how Trump's tariffs were effectively a hidden tax hike, the largest in decades, hurting farmers, small businesses, and consumers, the same people Republicans claim to represent. And while they were busy sabotaging agencies and firing workers, Trump was out on the golf course. Let this sink in. As of March 30th, Trump's golfing cost U.S. taxpayers around $26 million. $26 million for golf. No policy improvements, no national benefit, just taxpayer-funded leisure for a man who promised to drain the swamp. Crockett's delivery was pure fire. She compared the GOP's agenda to literally setting things on fire. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, 401ks, education, all going up in smoke under their so-called reforms. And she's right, because what the Republican Party calls efficiency looks a lot more like sabotage. Meanwhile, Trump was golfing as markets tanked. Golfing instead of honoring fallen service members. Golfing while Americans were losing jobs, homes, and healthcare. That's not leadership. That's dereliction of duty. Crockett made the point that government efficiency doesn't come from chaos and destruction. It comes from deliberate, strategic planning, something the GOP hasn't shown an ounce of in years. The Government Accountability Office, the GAO, has given them over 60 recommendations to improve how federal property is managed. And what did they do? Ignored every single one. Her closing moment was just chef's kiss. We need experts, not idiots. That line deserves to be engraved on the walls of Congress. At a time when Republicans are trying to convince voters that cutting essential services is somehow good for America, Jasmine Crockett is reminding us who's actually fighting for the people, not the power brokers. This hearing wasn't just another day in Washington. It was a reality check. Because if Republicans keep lighting the system on fire, there won't be anything left to save. So yeah, maybe it's time we stop worrying about how many solar panels are on federal buildings and start asking why Trump's golf clubs are still being subsidized by taxpayers.